asked what my favorite all-around car currently on sale is, my answer is usually the Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing. That's not just because it's an incredible performer. In my opinion, it's a great all-around package. It has three distinct personalities. So when Cadillac offered one last drive in the 2024 model before the refresh 25s arrived, I couldn't say no. So although it's starting to rain, let's go try to find some dry roads and I'll explain the three personalities of this car and why I like it so much. All right, to start, let's talk about luxury, because that really is the first thing a lot of people think of when they see a Cadillac badge on the front or the rear of a vehicle. So the CT5 is Cadillac's midsize car. If you're not really familiar with it, it battles against the things like the BMW 5 Series, Mercedes-Benz E-Class, Genesis G80. So starting with the exterior, we'll get to the sporty bits later, but it does look elegant and it looks a little more upscale with more finished parts on the exterior than a mainstream vehicle. There's no unfinished plastic, there's no exposed metal. Everything just really ties together. I'm a big fan of the current CT5 styling, especially the Blackwing, but even just the regular model I like. And it got a refresh for next year, which continues the great look, might even be better. It's usually the inside of a car though where the real luxury is, and the same thing with the CT5. The Blackwing especially has a bunch of different interior package combinations, which are for things like the trim, the seating surface, the colors used, all those sort of things. So I got the gray one, which has sort of a two-tone black and gray seat with red stitching. Being the Blackwing, it also has the carbon fiber seat backs for the front two seats, which is a sporty touch, but it also shows that this is high-end. There's also other carbon fiber trim here and there. So the entire interior is a mix of luxury and sport, but it's more on the luxurious side. I mean, there's sporty cars that have exposed metal, hard plastic, all those sort of things. This has none of that. I have the microfiber headliner, there's leather wrapped steering wheel, there's soft touch materials everywhere. The sound system has these cool metal covers on them. There is some chrome accents. I mean, it is a Cadillac, but it's very restrained in here. Now, some may not think this interior looks quite as premium as others, and that may be due to the layout of the center dash. The infotainment screen is kind of put into the dash as more of an afterthought than fully integrated. I know it's a style, but not one I like. It does get a little glare from the windshield as well. Below it is a row of buttons and toggle switches, and this controls all of the climate control system as well as heated seats and ventilated seats. And some may think hard buttons laid out like this is really old school, but I quite like it. I'm not a fan of having these sort of options buried in a menu, so I like that the buttons are here, and I think they're well laid out and they look classy. And underneath them, more buttons for like the drive mode and stability control, and there's a wireless phone charger and the usual Cadillac shifter that's a lot like some other premium brand shifters. So I think they've nailed that, but luxury isn't just the way a car looks inside and out. It's the way it drives, and that's what I've always loved about the CT5-V Blackwing, is if I put everything in tour mode, the adaptive suspension is nice and soft, the gear changes from the 10-speed auto slow down and are smoother, the exhaust closes up so it's quiet, so this suddenly becomes a nice luxurious car that you can drive through a high-end neighborhood or downtown with some friends or guests, and you're not going to annoy them or others on the street with noise or an overly hard ride. And of course, being a Cadillac, there's good sound deadening, so when you put it in tour mode, it really is quite silent inside. That takes us to the second personality of the CT5-V Blackwing, and that is a family sedan. So it is a mid-size sedan, and up front there's tons of space. I got as much legroom as I want. I don't even have the seat that far back. I got good headroom. As I said, the seat can be comfortable or supportive or both, and armrests have nice spots. This engine is so powerful, and it has 10 speeds to play with. On the highway, it just goes in 10th gear at very low RPM and just kind of cruises along. It's not exactly fuel efficient, but it's better than you'd expect. And then in the rear seat, taller passengers won't want to really spend much time in the back. Like, I can fit, but I got to duck my head in to get underneath the roof line, and then I'm kind of looking at the side. So it's really for medium to smaller adults or adolescents and teenagers. And of course, a family vehicle needs to be able to haul stuff, and this being a midsize sedan, it's got quite a nice trunk. It's a big opening, it's pretty deep, it's pretty wide. You can fit a lot of stuff back there. It's gonna out-carry a family worth of stuff compared to a sporty coupe like a Mustang or an M4, that's for sure. One final little thing about family cars, it's really objective, and I just think of this, maybe you don't, but it also just looks like a Cadillac sedan. So when you're doing daily chores and errands like running to the drugstore, this isn't going to stick out as much as a C8 Corvette or a Porsche 911. Not a big thing, and most people probably don't care. You probably don't care, but it's just nice sometimes to not be a rolling car show when you go places. Obviously, car people are going to know what this is, but the majority of the public will have no idea, and you'll just go on about your business and not be bothered. And that brings us to the best part of the Blackwing, and that is the sports sedan. Cadillac didn't just take the CT5 and put in a bigger engine and stiffen up the suspension and call it a day. They went all in with this vehicle, and it shows when you drive it. Cadillac claims this car can do 0 to 60 in about 3.4 seconds, and I think that's completely traction limited. There's way more power in this vehicle than that number would suggest, and top speed's equally impressive. We're talking the 200 mile per hour range. Putting the suspension into the track mode really does stiffen it up, and yeah, you feel every bump, but it keeps the car incredibly flat. It just maximizes the grip that those massive tires front and rear can produce. Although this is lighter and has a far better power to weight ratio than, say, the new BMW M5, it's not exactly a lightweight, and you can feel a bit of the heft behind it, but there's quite a bit of steering feel, and balance is pretty good. It never feels like the front is carrying too much weight and wants to push out, or the back's got too much weight and wants to spin out. Throw it into your favorite twisty road and it's fully manageable. And like I say with pretty much every performance vehicle I drive these days, their limits are all so ridiculously high that I can never exploit them on the road, but you can still have fun with this within legal limits. And there's a big reason for that, and that has to do with the engine. Under the hood's the supercharged 6.2 liter V8. This is the last hurrah of the engine. The Camaro's dying, so it's going to be gone from the ZL1. The Corvette ditched it with the C7 generation, so when the Blackwing disappears, this could be the end of the engine. Good news is, for 2025, they've given it a refresh, so it should live on for a couple more years. But anyway, enough about that. It makes 668 horsepower set just to the rear wheel, so needing something like a 305 high-performance tire is pretty necessary in a vehicle like this. Unfortunately, it's raining right now, and those tires are not designed at all to excel in the rain. I mean, they hold their own, but I can't really show or drive this car properly in these conditions. Like most vehicles in this class and price range, it's possible to customize a lot of features on the Blackwing. Things like adjusting the steering feel and how responsive the engine is and how long the transmission will hold gears between changes with upshifts or downshifts. Even the braking feel can be changed, and those brakes in this vehicle are massive, and they are also carbon ceramic cross-drilled brakes. So again, this isn't just a pretender performance car. And of course, there's the adjustable exhaust, and it's kind of crazy in the Blackwing. So there's 3 settings. If you drive in the middle sport setting or the highest track setting, anytime you get on the accelerator, you sure hear a lot of V8 bellow, and even cruising, you can kind of subtly hear it, and it's always just sort of there. But the crazy part is the burbles and backfires. Every time you get off the throttle, almost regardless of what gear RPM you're at, it just produces all these cracks and pops out the back. it's hilarious, and I can't believe it actually happens in the sport mode too. I kind of get this happening in the track mode, but I'm surprised that happens in the sport mode. Of course, the track mode produces louder and more extensive pops and bangs, but sport mode's no slouch. It's there too. It just makes things a little more fun and exciting on mundane straight roads like I'm on now. I mean, you just give a little gas, then you back off, and then you hit the gas and back off. Ridiculous. It is so much fun. It's hilarious. I mean, in the city, I usually drive with the exhaust closed in the quietest setting because it's a big attention seeker. But when you get on that right stretch of road and you want to just have some fun, man, does the soundtrack of this vehicle accompany its performance. It's pretty much unmatched on the market right now because there really isn't too many supercharged luxury sports sedans. In fact, this probably is the only one. It's so unnecessary, but I think that's why I love it. As a super sports sedan, it isn't just about performance, it also needs to look the part. So the CT5-V Blackwing comes looking pretty aggressive, but on this car we have the carbon fiber package 1 that adds the carbon fiber splitter on the front, and then we also have the carbon fiber package 2 that adds carbon fiber on the side sills. It has the optional bronze wheels, which to me are a must, and it's got this optional blue accent package that adds a couple stickers here and there. They're very subtle, and I actually kind of like them, and it paints the calipers blue, and with the blue paint it goes really well, but I think it would also go well with like white or black. So in the back, we have this carbon fiber spoiler and a carbon fiber rear diffuser and quad tip exhaust. And I know in the C8 I complained about having square exhaust on a quad tip setup, but the CT5 is more of a square car, and the way they're angled, it really suits the overall look, and they're also finished in a dark material, which I quite like. So let's take a minute and talk about engine noise. I don't mean exhaust noise, I've really covered that by now. I mean the actual noise the engine makes. So you never really hear it. The only time I can hear it is in tour mode because the exhaust is quiet enough. I can hear the V8 burbling up there a bit, and I can hear a faint supercharged whine. This is nothing like the Hellcat supercharger that people can hear from 7 blocks away. And that makes sense because this is a luxury car, and that's not a very luxurious experience, as cool as it is. So last time I drove this car, I had the 6-speed manual, and the manual was decent. It wasn't great, but it was a decent system. But the fact I could get a manual in a luxury mid-sized car that powers the rear wheels is, well, there's just one and this is it. So I really appreciated that, and with the rev matching and the adjustable modes, it too really had that triple personality. In all honesty though, the 10-speed automatic's probably better suited for the triple personality of this car because the smoothness of it in tour mode really matches the luxurious premium feel behind the wheel, and it also makes for a smoother ride when it comes to being a multi-passenger sedan. In sport, obviously the manual is more fun. This is obviously quicker, but I am impressed with how quick it can upshift for being a traditional automatic. Downshifts too are quite quick. I mean, they're not quite dual clutch quick, but they're very fast and crisp. It's very much like the BMW 8-speed that I always have very similar impressions of. This just has 2 more gears, but it's well done by Cadillac for an automatic that can both be comfortable and sporty. And of course, every time you downshift, you get all sorts of crackles and pops from the exhaust, so that just adds to the whole experience. So after another drive, I still love this car. Even the rain couldn't spoil it. It's not perfect, it's got a bit of a weight problem, the rear seat's not the most spacious, the center console could use with some updating, and of course there's that price tag, but if I could afford it, this would be the perfect car for me for everything I need as a dad and someone obsessed with cars. May not be for everyone, but for me, this is still one of my favorite on the road, if not my favorite.